Hello, everyone. So we're now on the final presentation on the ethics of plagiarism. And in today's presentation, we're going to look at more specific examples. So I would like everybody to go once again to that same website, the turnitin.com website. You can pause it once again if you need to type it in. And this time, however, you're not going to click on the download button, obviously, right? Instead, if you look on the lower left-hand corner, you're going to click on where it says Plagiarism Spectrum Infographic. It's a fancy sounding name, right? um, and once you click on that, by the way, you don't need to fill out the information again. Once you click on that link, it should take you here, the Plagiarism Spectrum. Um, and so what the site's going to do is what the Turnitin website's going to do is it's going to give you an overview of the different types of plagiarism in accordance with the labels that we discussed previously. So let's get right to it. Let's look at it, and let's look at this. It really is an awesome website, and how it breaks down these aspects of writing from every single angle. So starting with the first one, clone. And we don't need to do much reading. You can just look at the left-hand side of the source text and the right-hand side, and you notice the idea is basically that the student took another source, perhaps just simply changed the name, and submitted it as if they were theirs. Now, this is the most common form of plagiarism. And if you do this, there are consequences. Um, some could be a slap in the hand. I mean, it's going to depend on the professor. It's going to depend on the ethics of the institution. But for the most part, in a university or a college, um, a high school, any educational setting, plagiarism really it's not tolerated. I mean, the bread and butter of education is original, independent, scholarly work. At least those are the ideals that I hope we're striving for, right? Sincere learning. So if you're cloning work, it's not going to end up well for you. At minimum, you're going to get a 0 with no opportunity to make it up. Okay, so don't take anybody else's work and submit it word for word as your own. Very unethical. Okay. The second one is Control-C. And as discussed previously, it's, as we can see there, it's very similar to cloning, except the difference here is maybe you might have begun typing from the time of, and then you took a significant portion, you copied it, and you pasted it, and then you see the student's next word, possession, and then you copy and you paste this other significant portion, and you took the word and then again, copy paste, while, copy paste. So it's almost identical to cloning, except the one saving grace, really, there is no saving grace. It's just flat out plagiarism. But the one saving grace is that there's at least some attempt to modify things, right? And I shouldn't say there's some attempt. I mean, it's very minimal. It's just the idea that rather than taking in the entire work, copy pasting it, you're basically taking from that one source huge, significant portions, okay, from one source. So Control-C is actually considered the third most used type of plagiarism. The third one is finding and replacing, which is, when you compare it to Control-C, it's very similar. But the difference here is rather than you kind of like trying to create it on your own, it's like you're saying, okay, I'm going to try to write it on my own, and then I'll just embed the portions from the work. It's kind of backwards. You're kind of leaving the work by itself, and what you're doing is you're just finding a few words, and then you're just modifying a few words there, right? So, I mean, we can look at it. It says, since its first discovery by and the original source says non-indigenous, all you did is says, okay, I'm going to try to evade plagiarism by changing indigenous to native. It's kind of funny. The next one, it says 19th century, and the student actually changed the word for a number, and so on. I mean, so all you're doing is you're just within the work is the same. You're just modifying a couple words. So again, it's very close to cloning. The only reason it's not called cloning is because you've modified a couple words. So this is not you beginning the work and then just copying portions, as in Control C. This is you still using the clone work and modifying a few words. Okay. The next one, remix. So this one, there's an air of possibility of it being questionable. And what remix is, again, as discussed previously, it's you're paraphrasing from multiple sources. So let's say I read article A, and here's a great source of information. You paraphrase it, and then article B, great source of information that you copy. You don't copy paste, you paraphrase. And article C, same thing, you paraphrase. So far it sounds great. It sounds great because the words are yours, right? You're not using the author's words. You're rewording it. I mean, you're saying the same thing, but at least the wording is yours. You're paraphrasing. Now, the idea of paraphrasing, excellent. It's good. It's good because I really believe that rather than referring to a work in terms of just like citing it, I think it's the work of a good scholar to take the ideas of somebody else and putting them in your own words. Now, there's the catch. So what's the problem? The wording is mine. The wording absolutely is yours, but the idea is not. And when the idea is not yours, even if you paraphrase, you still have to give credit where credit is due. And if you look at the student work there, he did not provide any citations. He didn't include any authors' names, any page numbers, nothing. So all this collective paraphrasing, even though the words are his, he's still sustaining the idea as if it was his. It doesn't matter how many different sources you took sources from or citations from. Yeah. Paraphrase. So even if you paraphrase, save yourself and give credit where credit is due. Right? Okay, I hope that makes sense. So it's good to paraphrase and if the idea is the same, you just got to make sure that you give credit where credit is due. All right. Recycling is also interesting. Now, recycling refers to this. Recycling means that you're taking your own work, not even somebody else's, your own work. So let's say you wrote it, previously, one semester the professor asked for an essay, and you came up with an essay on the effects of capitalism on Mother Nature. And it was an excellent essay, and you're proud of your ideas, you're proud of the way you put things together, and you got an A for it. And now the professor's asking for the effects of technology on Mother Nature in semester 2, and it's a different professor. And you say, I've already written that paper. I'm almost there. And you go and you basically, I'm going to use my paper. I'm just going to add issues of technology. It's good that you wrote a good paper, but in the scholarly world, it's expected that you continue to grow and you continue to write original work. You continue to keep crafting and coming up with the new ideas. And so it's great. It's great that you're using your own work. I mean, you're giving yourself credit well deserved, but cite yourself. Give yourself credit where credit is due. I know it sounds crazy, but yes, even if it's your own work, you still have to cite yourself. Okay. This is recycling. All right, this next one, hybrid. Hybrid is, it's really interesting. It's you're cloning some citations, you're copy pasting some citations, and somewhere there in the middle, if you see that middle highlight there, it's a little lighter, kind of yellow, orangey, where it says Native Americans have lived in the Yosemite region. That in the middle there, that's a citation, and that's correct. Because you look at it, puts the Roman, it puts the footnote, and you see it cited there at the bottom, Yosemite Valley, Wikipedia, etc. That's correct. What's not correct is the author here copy pasted word per word, and so he or she was thinking that that citation was going to be able to veil or hide the fact that they copied word per word. They're still copying word per word. You see the reddish highlight there. None of that is his or hers. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, number 7, mashup, which is the second most used type of plagiarism. It's very much like cloning, except you're cloning from many different sources. So in cloning, number 1, let's say you went and you got a sheep and you cloned that sheep. So sheep A turned into sheep A plus or A minus. I gotta say minus because it's not the author's work, right? In mashup, you're taking works from sheep A, B, C, D, and so then you create work X, which is a product of sheep A, B, C, D, without any citations, proper citating, proper form, proper referencing or citations, etc. Right? You just copy word per word from many different, multiple sources, and you know I can see the provocativeness of how doing this might help you get away with it, but the sources now that detect plagiarism are you know they're so clever because they search tens of thousands of databases and they can track down, you know, even if it's paraphrased, the structure of things. So be careful. 404 error, number 8. This one is where you do include citations. And so by reading it, you look at the student work there. You know, since its first discovery by the Joseph Walker Party, and you look at the bottom, it has the Roman numeral 1 there. I mean, not the Roman, the footnote number 1 there. And it's properly cited. So you do have citations, and that's great. But those citations don't pertain to the quotation, or those citations don't even exist. You kind of just randomly either embedded them in there or you made them up. So you're like line on top of line, right? So be careful. Number 9, this is aggregator. And this also includes citations. So let's say I take a paper and I see, you know, this paper and it's beautifully cited. If you look at the right-hand side, you see all the footnotes there, and it's properly cited. But where are your words? None of them are yours. Okay, so you've got to be careful with aggregator type of plagiarism. And finally, you've got a retweet where you do include a citation, but the structure or the wording is still too close to the original. Okay. So I hope this helps everybody. And we've ended our overview of plagiarizing. You've got a resource there. You've got a handout. You've got a website. I hope this helps you. And I'm sure you all are going to become great, fantastic, ethical writers. Thank you.